don't know me, my name is Caroline and I'm a registered dietitian located in Kelowna, Canada. And previously this year, my husband and I finally bought our first home here or outside of Kelowna, in Lake Country more specifically. And this is our first home, so we've been kind of decorating our place as the year has gone by, and while we still don't have most of our furniture, we do have everything that we need finally done in our kitchen. So today I will do a kitchen and pantry tour and just show you how I organized our kitchen, and I'll show you what I have in my pantry. So let's take a look. So let's start with the pantry. So this corner here was completely empty when we moved in, and because I do spend a lot of my time in the kitchen, we decided to put in a built-in pantry just for some extra storage. We also added some extra shelves on the side for extra decoration and just to store a few cookbooks and our fruits. So now inside our pantry, we have 3 stable shelves at the top, and on the very top is where I store things that I very rarely use. And so I have just some leftover ingredients that don't fit into the jars. So you'll notice that I store most of my ingredients in jars. And so if I buy, for example, flour and not all of it fits into the jar, I just store the leftovers on the top and refill them as needed. So on the second shelf is where I store my cookbooks. I do have a small collection of cookbooks, but I do cook a lot from them. And I do store extra jars on that shelf. I only have one right now, but I do use a lot of them to store some extra recipes and ingredients, and also just to drink water. On the next shelf, the last stable shelf, is where I store those larger jars. And in these, I store my oats, nuts, flours, and some rice. And the lower shelves can be pulled out, which makes it a lot easier to reach in the back. On the top shelf is where I store all of those medium-sized jars, and so I do have a variety of ingredients in those. Starting from the left, I have my seeds, and then I have all of my baking ingredients together, so sugar, coconut, chocolate, cocoa powder. And then next I have my legumes together, and then my quinoa and some nutritional yeast on the right. The next shelf is where I store all of my spices, and I store them in small little jars and use a non-permanent marker to write down what spice there's in there. The last thing that I have on this shelf is just a variety of random little ingredients that fit into those smaller jars. So I do label them with that non-permanent marker again, and I do reuse some salsa jars for kind of medium-sized jars. So I do have some nuts, some other legumes in there, and some seeds. And that next shelf is where I store those ingredients that don't necessarily go into jars. And so I have my pasta, some breadcrumbs, I do have some popcorn, and I reuse that container to buy it in bulk. I also have some nut and seed butters, some applesauce, extra sauces, and some extra little containers of plant-based milk, and my little chocolate stash right here. That last bottom shelf is where I store all of my cans, and I do try to store them by category. So I have all of my tomato-based cans on the left, and then I have my vegetable stock, some coconut milk, and all of my legumes on the right. I also do store my potatoes in that lower shelf. So now let's look at those lower cabinets. That bottom cabinet below the sink is really not interesting, but it's where I store all of my cleaning supplies, extra garbage bags, sponges, and our lunch boxes. That corner cabinet was a little awkward to use, and so I decided to use it for my bigger appliances like my Instant Pot. I also have my stand mixer in the corner. I also use it for my cast iron skillet and casseroles, and I do have some glass dishes and measuring cups. That slim drawer next to the oven is where I store my oven mitts and my apron. And right below I store my baking supplies like parchment paper and all of my cutting boards. On the other side of the oven, on that top drawer, is where I store my dish rags. I also have some napkins that I use for photography and some reusable bowl covers and my nut milk bag. Under that, I store all of my reusable containers, so things that I use to store ingredients and recipes. And on the very bottom, I store all of my mixing bowls. And of course, right below the oven is where I store all of my baking sheets, pizza sheets, and I also have my muffin tins under here. Now let's look inside the island. So that top drawer in the island is a little on the messy side. It's just kind of random things that I use in the kitchen that didn't have any other space. So I do have some wooden spoons, some my can opener, potato masher, whisks, and all of that. And on the other side, it's a little cleaner, but I have my cutlery all together in that little organizer. I have my knives, my spatulas, wooden spoons, and then all of my measuring cups in the back. And on this side, at the bottom, is where I store all of my pots and pans. And on the other side, I have my bigger appliances that I use on a regular basis. So I have my Vitamix, my food processor. We also have a popcorn maker, spiralizer, and a mini hand mixer at the bottom. And in the back, I have appliances that I don't use as often, so you may not see it, but I have a waffle iron and my slow cooker. So now let's look at the top cabinets. So in that corner cabinet next to the window is where we store all of our coffee and tea. I also store some of those vitamins that I take, and at the very top is where we have our travel mugs. So next we have all of our dishes. So we do have our bowls and plates, and on top of that we have our mugs as well as our small and bigger glasses. On the top I store those things that I don't use as often, or my husband puts his stuff on top because he can actually reach, but we do have a flower pot and a few smaller dishes. So on the other side of the microwave is where I store all of my oils, vinegars, salt, pepper, and garlic. So things that I use in my cooking every day. And on top, I have all of my cake pans and bread pans. Now over the microwave, we kept it empty. As you can see, there's not really much space there. And over the fridge, it's a little tall, so we can't really reach. I just put things that we use when we're entertaining, so we have kind of some platters and some bigger bowls. And as you may have noticed, because we do like that more minimalist, clean look, I do try to keep my counters as clutter-free as possible. But there are a few appliances that we use on a regular basis that I do keep on the counters. First, we have our espresso maker. It's new to us and I really do love it. So we do use that one more than once a day, so I do keep it there. And in the corner, we have our soda stream that we love and use every day, and our kettle for making tea. I do have a few little fall decorations on the side here, and finally we have our toaster, which we use most mornings. And that's it. So I hope this was helpful to you. As you may have noticed, we do go for more of a clean, minimalist look in our home, and we are supposed to get the rest of our furniture later this month or at the beginning of November. So when we do get all of it done, I will show you a tour of the rest of our place. But for now, I hope you liked our kitchen and pantry tour.